Before you buy a single property, you need to ask yourself one question. Why am I investing? Most people skip this step. They rush out, look at suburbs, scroll through listings, maybe even talk to a broker about finance. But they don't actually stop and think about what they are trying to achieve. And here's the problem. If you don't know your why, every decision after that becomes guesswork. Today, I want to slow things down and walk you through the very first step of property investing. Setting your investment objectives and defining your personal risk profile. By the end of this video, you'll have clarity on why you're investing, what your goals are, and how much risk you're genuinely comfortable with. Think of this as building the foundation of a house. Get it right, and the structure will last. Get it wrong, and no matter how many properties you buy, it's always going to be on shaky ground. Your why might be retirement income. Maybe in your 30s or 40s and you don't want to work into your 70s. Or maybe you want early financial independence. The ability to step away from work in 10 or 15 years because your investments cover your lifestyle. For some people, the why is leaving a legacy, something tangible for their kids. Now, I want you to visualize this. Close your eyes for a second and picture what life looks like when property investing has worked for you. Are you working less? Are you traveling? Do you own your own home debt-free? Or is it simply about peace of mind that bills are covered by passive income? This isn't just motivational fluff. The clearer you are on this picture, the easier it will be to stick with the plan when the market turns, or when a renovation costs more than expected, or when interest rates rise. Your why becomes your anchor. Now let's turn that why into measurable goals. It's not enough to say, I want to retire early, or I want passive income. You need to make it concrete. For example, instead of saying, I want passive income, say, I want $80,000 in passive rental income by 2035. Instead of saying, I want to retire early, say, I want to be financially independent by 50, with a portfolio of 4 properties with $3 million combined. You notice the difference? The one is vague, the other is measurable. When you make your goals measurable, you can reverse engineer your plan. You can ask, how many properties would I need? What kind of growth rates do I need to be looking for? What kind of yields do I need to be chasing? And here's the other thing. Don't just set big long-term goals. Break it down. Maybe your 5-year goal is to own 2 properties. Your 10-year goal is 4 properties. Your 15-year goal is to have debt reduced to a sustainable level and income streams established. Goals should create stepping stones, not just an endpoint. Here's where a lot of investors stumble. Risk tolerance isn't just about how much money you're willing to risk. It's also about your psychology. Some people are naturally conservative. They prefer blue chip suburbs, stable tenants, and predictable returns. They don't sleep well if their cash flow is tight. Others are more growth orientated. They're willing to take on developments, regional plays, or higher debt because they're chasing long-term capital growth. Neither is right or wrong, but here's the catch. If your strategy doesn't align with your risk tolerance, you will sabotage yourself. Let me give you an example. I once worked with a client who insisted they wanted maximum growth. They bought into an up-and-coming suburb with great long-term fundamentals, but very low yield. Within a year, they were stressed every month because the property was costing them too much to hold. Eventually, they sold and lost money, even though the area went on to boom. The problem wasn't the property, it was the strategy, and that it didn't match their risk tolerance. So ask yourself, how do you feel about debt? How do you feel about fluctuations in value? How much of a buffer would you need to sleep well at night? These questions aren't just financial, they're emotional. Your strategy also has to fit your life stage. A 25-year-old professional with 40 years until retirement can afford to take bigger risk and focus heavily on growth. A 55-year-old looking to retire in 10 years probably needs to prioritize income and stability. Income levels matter too. Higher income earners can afford to hold negatively geared growth properties longer, while lower income earners might need cash flow positive properties just to keep their portfolio sustainable. This is why comparing yourself to friends or colleagues is dangerous. Their stage, their incomes, and their goals aren't yours. Your plan has to be personal and tailored to you. One last factor to consider is how hands-on you want to be. Some investors love rolling up their sleeves. They get into renovations, they look for development sites. They want to manufacture equity through effort. Others prefer a passive approach. Buy a well-located property, get a manager, and let it sit. Again, neither is better, but you need to be honest with yourself. If you've got a demanding career, a family, and a little free time, chasing renovation projects might not be realistic. But if you've got skills, time, and appetite, it can accelerate your results. Think of this as another axis of risk and reward: effort versus automation. Now here's the truth. Your goals and risk tolerance will change, and that's okay. What matters is that you revisit your plan regularly. I recommend at least once a year. Life events will happen. You'll change jobs, have children, start a business, or think about retirement. Each time it's worth asking, does my why still make sense? Are my goals still aligned with where I'm heading? Do I need to tweak my risk profile? Property investing is dynamic. Your plan should be too. So let me leave you with a real story. A client of mine, let's call him David, came to me in his mid-30s. He was earning well, but had no clear direction. We sat down and he realized his why was actually time with family. He didn't want to be working 60-hour weeks into his 50s. We mapped out a 15-year plan with specific income and growth targets. Within 5 years, he had 2 properties generating consistent rental return. He wasn't financially independent yet, but he was well on the path. And more importantly, he felt confident. He knew why he was doing it, and he could see the stepping stones ahead. Contrast that with another investor I knew early on in my career. She bounced from one hotspot to another, chasing whatever the media was hyping. She had no clear why, no clear goals, and every setback shook her confidence. After a decade, she had very little to show for it. Same amount of money, same opportunities in the market, completely different results. And it all started with clarity. So here's your homework. Take 15 minutes today and write down your why. Make it as specific and personal as possible. Then set at least 3 measurable goals with timeframes. And finally, be honest about your risk tolerance. This may feel simple, but it's the most powerful step you can take. Because once you've got clarity, every decision that follows, what suburb to buy in, what type of property, what finance structure, all becomes easier. If you like a framework to help, I've linked a free guide in the description. And if you're serious about building a strategy, reach out and let's have a chat. Don't forget to subscribe, because next week I'll be diving into the exact process for designing a balanced portfolio. And that's where things start to get really interesting.